Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing another reading. The reading today is quite a juicy reading. I really like this article. Actually, this article is the second best article on my blog in terms of like viewing ratings. So this year, like my top 5 articles, out of my top 5 articles, it was the second which was most viewed and read. So it's a good one. The title of the article is The Messy Divorce. It is part of a series. It's part of the series called Is Dating White Men Sustainable? This is part 2 of that series. I wrote this about a past relationship that I had. And I think we broke up at around this time, 3 years ago in 2019, just before I went to Lagos for my travels and my fashion stuff. And I didn't even realize that I was still very much hung up over this relationship until very recently. So it's only when I went for therapy that I realized that I was still like holding on to this relationship because it was the last, like, I don't know, like in my head I thought it was like the last good relationship I had because he treated me like really well. I was like super spoiled. So after the really traumatizing relationship I had in Kenya, the really pathetic relationship I had in Kenya, I think I was really just longing for that. So I hadn't really completely gotten over him. And even when we broke up, I don't really feel like I took enough time to grieve that relationship. I just went from one dude to the next, the next. That's when I was in Cape Town wilding out. So anyway, this is now, so when I wrote this article, I feel like I was still, I wrote it in January 26th January 2022, so earlier this year. And I feel like I was still very much hung up over this dude. So this article, yeah, that's when I wrote this article. Now I'm not into him anymore. I've grieved that relationship. I'm very over him, and I'm just, it's nice to just look back and reflect, you know? Yeah, so these are the vibes. I haven't done my makeup today. That's how my face looks. Actually, I'm looking cute. I'm looking hella cute. I just want to do this reading so that I can upload this one before I upload the vlog of my friend and Sharon, of my friend Sharon and I's escapades last night. It was so funny because she called me this morning and she was like, Teshie, our roles have really reversed because usually you'd be the one going, like, staying on for like the party and going home late. But now I went home early with my man. That's so funny. But anyway, so let me read the article for you guys. There's something about my vibrational energy around the springtime that always seems to attract too many men. I've always found myself getting into new relationships or attracting new suitors around this time. Now that I've embarked on my celibacy journey, I hope to spend this year's spring dating myself and being even more aligned with my soul. I'm curious to see just how much I can really bloom when I show myself the same love that I so readily give to others. For today's story, we're going back to spring of 2019, before COVID came to ruin our lives. I had just made my dream come true and moved to Sea Point, which is, in my opinion, the best area to stay in the Cape. My new apartment was right by the beachfront, and I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. I had 2 jobs working for 2 international companies. I was living in my dream neighborhood, and I was attending fashion school during the weekends. My life was perfect, or so it seemed, and I was finally starting to enjoy life after university. I didn't date much that year after ending things with Marcel. I focused on working on myself and enjoyed a couple of casual dates here and there. It was only when I moved from Claremont to Sea Point that I was eager and willing to invite some more excitement into my life. Living in Sea Point had always seemed like an unattainable goal for me. I would take my city bus rides to the promenade during my school breaks, look up at those apartments by the beachfront, and wish that one day I could be one of their residents. The power of manifestation is so real because a few years later, I manifested my dream and made it my reality. I had also joined Tinder that year and was super keen to check out the guys living in my new area. It was a posh neighborhood, so I expected the same quality of men on my Tinder. That year, I had so many interesting experiences with white men I met off Tinder, which I will talk more about in the next article of this series. I met the main character of this story on Tinder. For the sake of privacy, we are going to call him Liam. It had been a couple of weeks since I moved to Sea Point. I had also just launched a collection for my fashion brand. The collection was titled Lion King after my favorite movie, and all the pieces were made up of animal print fabric. I was casually scrolling through Tinder faces when I spotted Mr. Liam. His bio looked quite interesting and he looked so full of life in his pictures. Liam seemed like a lot of fun to hang out with, and so I swiped right. We immediately matched, and Liam didn't hesitate to slide into my Tinder DMs. At that time, my Tinder profile also included a link to my website because I was shamelessly plugging my fashion brand with any chance I got. Mr. Liam was quick to stalk me online and even went through my online fashion store. He found a men's shirt that he liked and told me that he would like to purchase it for himself. Liam is also an entrepreneur, and at that time, he co-owned a travel company, which he had mentioned on his profile. He had worked on building a really amazing guest house on the outskirts of the city, and the images online looked very cool. We planned to meet up the next day for me to deliver the shirt he was going to purchase from me and also get to know each other over some drinks. I was so excited for the date. It was also my first purchase from the collection, and I couldn't help but marvel at Liam's game. I had already been in Gishwad box even before we met. We met at this popular restaurant or bar on the Sea Point Promenade called Rockpool. Liam went into the bathroom to try on the shirt, which ended up fitting him perfectly. He then bought it and we continued on our date. The vibes were high as we talked about our passions, businesses, and life in general. He told me about his guest house and all the plans he had for his travel company. I was super impressed and highly motivated by his entrepreneurial drive. Till this day, I still believe he's an entrepreneurial genius, able to take any situation he is in and build something beautiful and sustainable from scratch. After a couple of drinks at Rockpool, Liam asked if I'd like to accompany him to visit one of his friends who stayed relatively close by. Since I had nothing to do that evening, I accepted the invite. Liam drove us to his friend's apartment, which was close to Signal Hill. From there, we were able to enjoy the majestic views of Lion's Head and Cape Town CBD. It was a starry night and the moonlight shined really brightly, making it all very romantic. We shared our first kiss here. His friend owned a paragliding business and would usually be spotted paragliding with tourists from the top of Signal Hill down to the Sea Point Promenade. One thing about Liam was that he had the coolest friends and network. Like me, he was very sociable and found it easy to make friends with just about anyone. He was also loads of fun to be around, and together we would attract the most interesting people and experiences. I can confidently say that most of the fun I've had in my entire life was had with Liam. Not anymore, but yeah, at that time, yeah, I guess. Our energy together was electric. He made me try out so many new things and showed me the world in a way that I had always wanted to live. Carefree, free-spirited, adventurous, passionate, and loads of fun was the exact definition of our relationship. Liam was also super supportive of me and my goals. He always called me his superstar and questioned how he had been able to land a woman of standard like myself. I always felt very celebrated and special around Liam. A few days after our first date, I invited Liam to accompany me as my +1 to an industry event that was taking place at Grand Africa Beach Club. It was the Men's Health magazine's annual fashion show, and I was ecstatic to get an invite. It was so cool to bring him into my world of fashion and luxury, which was quite different from what he was used to. He wore the shirt that he had purchased from me, and I wore a gold satin skirt, which I had spent that day sewing. Maybe I can show you guys the skirt. I don't know if you'll see. But that was basically my outfit. I looked so cute. Liam is also Australian. When we met, his mom had come to visit him from Aussie, and so I naturally met her very early in our relationship. Even before Liam and I became official. I love his mom. She is extremely sweet, yet still super fancy or bougie, with just enough of that superstar effect that made the both of us really get along. Liam asked me to be his girlfriend soon after we met. It must have been a few days or about a week after our first date. I happily agreed. I was at a point in my life where I was ready for a relationship, and the amount of fun and good times we were having together was just incomparable to anything I had ever experienced. The sex with Liam was also out of this world, and he is by far my best fuck to date. Not anymore, but at that time, I guess. The sex was just so amazing. I even remember he made me accompany him to the nude beach one day. I just remember seeing a lot of whitish red floppy dicks before we made our way to a section behind the rocks where we were out of sight. I took off all my clothes, which was super liberating, and we had sex there and then. The sun shining brightly on my face and the sound of the waves crashing against the shore heavily contributed to the intense orgasm I had that day at the nude beach. Ah! This is how it looks, guys. No, honestly, we did have good memories. We definitely had some good memories. Anyway, during our time together, he introduced me to one of my best girlfriends, Sam. Oh, Sam. I love Sam so much, who I believe is one of my soulmates. We also traveled out of town together and he showed me the hidden beauty of the garden route. I can't wait to go back. Because of his travel company, we also explored a lot of the mother city together and I had some of my best kept on memories with him. That's true. Liam was always pushing me to try out new experiences and organized for me and my really good friend Troy to go quad biking for the first time ever. I was so happy during our time together and felt like I was on a constant high. Yeah, we did have good memories. There was a voice at the back of my mind that kept telling me that it all seemed too good to be true. It kept urging me to find out what the catch was. I even remember asking Liam what the catch was because our love story just seems too perfect. It's only after we started dating exclusively that my instincts were confirmed. I remember this day so well. Liam had driven to Sea Point to spend the afternoon with me. He had come with his dog, who soon became my bestie. After taking her for a walk, we decided to have some late lunch at my favorite fast food Indian restaurant in Cape Town called Food Inn. Liam had been looking a bit stressed that day and he finally said that he had something serious to tell me. In the midst of me gobbling down my naan bread and chicken curry, Liam finally broke the news. Terren. He was going through a nasty divorce and things had started getting very heated up between them. His ex-wife had fled to Europe with a 5-month-old son, leaving him behind with no goodbye. At that time, Liam was 31 years old. I was 24. They co-owned the guest house and travel company. I'm not going to go into details about the reason for their separation because it's really none of my business. Just know that it was bad and messy. Her rich parents were also determined to destroy Liam and very many lawyers were involved in the divorce proceedings. When he told me about all of it, I was in utter shock. Had I known this man had a whole 5-month-old child, I would have definitely thought twice when accepting to be his girlfriend. He went on to explain how he had hidden a lot of that information from me initially because he knew it would be a deal breaker and he was not ready to lose me. Yeah. But guys, this is where people really fail in relationships. I felt like our relationship was based off lies and pretense. I'm a very honest person and I really appreciate having the same honesty shown back to me. One of my deal breakers in all sorts of relationships is lying. Why lie? I am super open-minded, so it's quite rare that I react negatively to tragic stories that people tell me about themselves. I therefore was very offended that he chose to conceal this vital information from me because in all honesty, it wouldn't have scared me off from him that easily. I was really into him at that point and was not ready to just walk away from it all. Can you imagine? His ex-wife even reached out to me on social media after seeing Liam posting about the two of us on his stories. She was quick to tell me all about Liam's negative traits and why I shouldn't be dating him. Why do exes do this? If you're an ex, please leave the current girlfriend or boyfriend alone. Your issues with him is none of my business, so don't be sliding into my DMs woman to woman. I even remember her close European girlfriends would always be on my case, harassing me on my posts until I finally blocked all of them. We continued dating for the next 3 or so months before he ended things with me in early December of 2019. Things had gotten really bad with the divorce and his mental health was struggling too. He told me that he was incapable of being the boyfriend I deserve and he loved me too much to bring me down with him. I was super brokenhearted when I found out because I was totally in love with this guy. Now that I look back, I'm super grateful to him for having the courtesy to end things off and not to drag me along in his mess. To be honest, I don't think I took enough time alone to get over this relationship because once he dumped me, I went extra crazy with the men. I decided to get over Liam by getting under more men. It was summer, I was flourishing, and all the European men had started flooding into Cape Town to enjoy the holidays. It was also just before I was meant to fly out to Lagos for my fashion show at Africa Fashion Week Nigeria. I had quite a number of summer flings during this time, most of them with white men I matched with on Tinder, a lot of who lived or vacationed in the same area I was staying. things got wild, guys. Dot, 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 dot. To be continued. I feel like I kind of continued this story on my Patreon though. I'm gonna name it properly that it's part of this series, because I didn't name it as part of this series because it was the beginning of another series. So oh my god, the series is basically called Are Orgies and Voyeurism Really Worth the Hype? That's why I really go into detail about this story. I'm going to leave the links to that article in the description box, so you should definitely go and check it out. It is very juicy. Subscribe to my Patreon. I'm going to try and make and have an offer very soon so that you only pay $5 to subscribe for the next month. For your first 30 days you pay $5, and then after that it's gonna become $8. So please do subscribe to my Patreon. Please support my writing. It really goes a long way. You have no idea. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I feel like I look so pretty. Okay, I need to upload this like now, so let me just get to editing. Bye guys.